I want to continue the topic of the last video, spiritual community and Tantric spiritual community and how it helps. There is a traditional concept common to virtually all of Hinduism, as far as I'm aware, called satsanga, or often translated as holy company. Now, sometimes that's understood to mean keeping company with one's guru or recognized holy persons maybe who wear robes this color, or who lead congregations or masses of followers. But the term traditionally has meant something broader than that, more than just hanging out with the holy man or holy woman. Holy company is about spiritual friendship and the advantages of coming together with others who are like-minded in sharing some kind of communal experience. Now, one of the issues with Hindu practice and Tantric practice shares that it's not generally a communal form of worship. So unlike Christianity or Judaism or Islam even, where people regularly get together in big groups to perform the rituals, the primary rituals of that faith, mostly spiritual practice in the East is an individual, private practice. It's something that's done in the home. Yes, there are temples and monasteries and so on, but people tend to practice quietly, privately, in their home, in their corner of their room, or even in the monasteries where I lived, where there was a temple or shrine where we all gathered for song services or other public events. Our basic spiritual practice, our daily spiritual practice, was private. And in extreme cases, the private practice could be like going off to a cave somewhere and really being alone, alone with the universe, as it were. So, and that's always been considered a good thing. However, it takes quite a lot of fortitude and conviction to go to that extreme. What is more practical for most of us is having a private practice, practicing in our room or home, but having some kind of place where we get together with other practitioners who are like-minded. And that coming together, that satsanga, is a positive help in spiritual practice, in spiritual life. It helps build faith and devotion. To put in psychological terms, it's positive peer pressure. And let us not underestimate, I mean, peer pressure has kind of a bad connotation in some circles, but let's not underestimate the power of positive peer pressure and how we can use that power to motivate ourselves to practice consistently and to practice sincerely and deeply. All good things. And that inspiration may come initially from exposure to some great holy person or guru, or their teachings or reading, or their writings. But ultimately, it has to come from within us. And So we have to learn how to build that conviction, and having like-minded peers with whom we meet regularly helps. Now, a spiritual community, like a monastery, a residential spiritual community, offers that in spades. Yes, we get to all live in the same location and share communal rituals. Even meals can be considered communal rituals in a practice like ours, where every action done mindfully is part of our spiritual practice. And those kinds of small details of practice can be developed and nurtured in a residential community, that also offers the advantage of a kind of cushion from the outside world, which can often seem inimical to our practice, hostile to it even. In the West, especially, at least in the past, it used to be considered odd to go off to your room and sit quietly and, quote unquote, do nothing. Anybody who's been in a relationship with someone who didn't share their practice, or a roommate who didn't share their practice, there needs to be boundaries set in order for you to preserve your practice in a situation that's not entirely supportive of it. And monasteries, ideally, are such places. Whether you go to live in them for life, or for a week, or a couple of years, whatever suits your needs, they help. So that's, what also occurs to me are just the joy of community. I can remember in the monastery how we used to do dishes together. It seems like a small thing, but it really wasn't. That our main meal of the day was the midday meal, and as soon as we were done, we would all get up and we'd say a chant, Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Jai, and we would take our dishes into the kitchen, which in the case of the Hollywood Monastery was quite well set up for this sort of communal dishwashing. And we had put our dirty dishes in the dirty dishes sink, where somebody would be rinsing them with the rinser, and then the person actually washing the dishes would take them over to the washing sink. And then there would be a whole host of dish dryers, with dish towels, drying the dishes as they got washed and putting them away. So, it worked as just a practicality, and we didn't have dirty dishes lying around. Our kitchen would be cleaned up within a few minutes. The table would be cleaned off and wiped off within just a few minutes, and keeping the monastery environment nice and pleasant and hygienic. And we were all together doing something that benefited us all. And sometimes we had fun with that. We would sometimes, those of us who were singing together in a men's choir would practice. We would sing our different parts while we were washing or drying dishes. We were studying Sanskrit, so we'd post Sanskrit paradigms on the different cabinets around the kitchen, and we would quiz one another on Sanskrit paradigms. I can remember at least one incident where we started dancing, literally dancing, singing and dancing around the island in the middle of the kitchen. And all of this seemed quite natural in our community. And part of the reason is because when you do daily meditation and other spiritual practices, joy becomes a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Baseline of your experience. That there's a kind of underlying joy and a meaning to everything that you're doing. That is no small thing in itself. It's a great thing. I mean, think about that. If you could live your life in such a way that your baseline was joy, and then there would be peaks of greater joy that would occur out of that. Now, does that mean that nobody was sad or that we all got along all the time? Of course not. But, like I said, the baseline was joy, there was meaning, and all of that is an important part of why spiritual community is so valuable.